The evolution of monogamy. I was listening to a video on the airport yesterday, and I'm sure it's true what he said. He said 60 to 70% of relationships in North America have something that happens that's deceptive, that goes outside the framework of the relationship agreements. So what does that mean? Does that mean cheating? It could. This is North America, so it's not as high as South America. But it listed things like emotional intimacy with a coworker, cheating, porn, different things that if they were to be transparent with the person, they would be out of integrity, they would be deceptive, they would be lying in their relationship. And it's a common thing right now, this back and forth between monogamy and then open relationships and polyamory. For me, I have a weird experience. I've tried pretty much all of it, from forced monogamy, I'll get to that in a minute, to prostitutes, drugs, sex clubs, 3-ways, 4-ways, whatever. And then to semen retention, to celibacy, to a form of, what I would call conscious monogamy, or something different, something chose from a different place, but also from abundance, or at least what I thought was the most abundance at the time, not from things that are based in scarcity. So I think with this dynamic of is it monogamy, is it polyamory, is it monogamy, or is it I should just be single? I don't think either of those are gonna really answer the question, because it's keep going to two things that I don't think work very well. Most people in regular monogamy, I don't see it working very well. Most people in polyamory, I personally don't think it works well either. And there's more new age stuff. You'll watch some podcast of a guy that went to Egypt and talked to a leprechaun in a pyramid and told him to have an open relationship or have 2 wives or whatever. I don't know. It could be true. I think when we're getting that woo-woo and that esoteric, we're probably not too connected to the earth or too connected to our balls as men. We're more, woo-woo. It's not spiritual, it's just fucking woo-woo. So here's what I've come up with, and here's what I've noticed. You have these 3 stages. You have what most guys are in, which is forced monogamy, which, let's be honest, it's not pretty, especially if you're a woman watching this. And guys, sometimes we judge it ourselves, but it is what it is. It is our hormones or our biological drive. When we're 18 years old, we're not really thinking about being monogamous forever or being with one woman. Our hormones, our biology is not leading us that way. For women, it is. Much more so. That feels natural, it feels safe, right? As guys get older, that changes. Guys aren't as testosterone drugged when they're 18 as when they're 28 or 38. But then as we evolve, things change. We start to see things differently. We start to mature. We can still have good testosterone, but it's not crazy where it's just like we're 15, we just got like drugs for the first time. But our body leads a certain ways. And then we look around and we get kind of confused because we go like, all right, look at like Dan Blazarian. Like as guys, we've all thought, oh, that would be really fun to have that experience for the summer. Some version of that, to be the ultimate Playboy. And then we see people in our family and we see their relationship and we're like, no, I don't want this. Like this is what it is. This seems terrible. But we come to this conclusion, hey, I want a relationship. I'm in high school, I'm in college, or I'm 30-something or 40-something. If I want a relationship, I have to be monogamous. I don't think we really think about this. It's just a construct of society, right? So we do that. A lot of us, I believe the women are as well, a lot of us are bored or not communicating our needs or what we value or what we want in a way where the person can actually give them back. Oftentimes, we blame the partner, or then we break up and then we don't stop blaming the partner, we blame ourselves. Rarely we look at it objectively, where it's like, all right, what do we both do to create this, to co-create this experience that's not really working? So we have what I call forced monogamy, because you're doing it kind of because you have to. If you could just have a girlfriend or a wife and 3 girlfriends when you were 25, you might. You just might. Also, but if you do that, if you had permission to do that or a construct to do that, I would say that generally comes with pretty enormous consequences, even if it's in an agreement and not infidelity. But then you can go off, you can do the Playboy thing, you can do whatever, which can be very fun, but it gets old. It's kind of like doing drugs or drinking a lot of booze. You do it enough, it's fun, it creates a space or a state, but then you need more, and then it's not as fun. Then there's consequences. What's interesting is the Playboy thing is it's not fulfilling. And we're entering into a new age with new problems where the Playboy thing might have been a phase where you're gonna have guys that make good money, testosterone, peptides, that are gonna be able to stay in the Playboy phase for decades, much more easily than any time in human history, which will lead to a greater level of unhappiness. So, presented the forced monogamy, Playboy. What do you do if it's between those two? And I think that's the tricky thing. The tricky thing is being stuck in that dynamic. Because if we keep going like this, we go, which one do we pick? And the answer is neither. You go up. When you're choosing between something and it's here, and there's a whole nother level of what's available. This is my 18-second seminar. Ready? Most people are just with the wrong person. 50% of people are gonna end up divorced. Probably another 30, 40% ain't doing that good, even if they've been together 10, 20, 30, 40 years. I've done interviews on and off, I'm not doing them every day, but for 13 years. And talked to people that are married 40 years. When I first started doing it, I was 27 years old. I'm like, man. I was like, oh, they did not figure it out. They're just too afraid to leave. Or they don't know any better, and Where you choose from ultimately is a relationship between you and you. That's where you start from. Whether we like it or not, it is what it is. If you got a bunch of stuff going on, whatever it is, drugs, porn, addictions, that's where you're going to attract stuff from, right? It's kind of common sense. Sometimes as guys, we try to rationalize things more, but it's really, whether it's rational or emotional or energy, it just is what it is. So our relationship with ourselves is the jumping off point. So when we go through two phases and keep going back and forth, that's all we can create. As we evolve, we can create something different. And through knowing yourself, as you know yourself, you know who you are and what you want, what you need. When people make relationship visions, you end up realizing that you may have these 10 core values you need, and that's valid. And then you may have these details where they're really not that important. And that is an invitation into maturity of going, oh, well, no, I do these. I remember someone saying this as a woman, like, well, I do Joe Dispenza meditations for an hour every morning. I was like, and so that's important to you? Yeah. A guy needs to do that or he's not. Oh, I'm skipped ahead. And I said, what if he meditates for like 45 minutes? He's not serious about his spirituality. And I was like, damn. She got married a few years later. I don't know how much the guy meditates, but that would be what I would consider a silly rule. Because someone who meditates and someone who meditates, you go, okay, we're aligned, but no, you got to do it this way for this many minutes. As you get to work on yourself, heal yourself, really discover yourself, open your heart, rediscover your balls, because you may have blamed your ex-wife or someone for cutting them off. And if that happened, the bad news is maybe they did. The good news is, which kind of hurts, you helped give her the knife to cut off the balls. So only you can reattach them. She can't, or the feminist movement or whatever. As modern day men, some of us can bitch and complain about at times. As we know ourselves, we can choose something different. Most conventional monogamy feels very restrictive. We also don't tell that person the crazy wild shit we would like to experience. The level of passion, or, well, I could do that with a girlfriend, or when I was dating strippers, or whatever the thing is. So that's what they do in porn. I think you need a bit of porn and you need a bit of Disney in a relationship. If you idealize those things, you're in trouble. I think you need a bit of both. So as you get to know yourself, you know what you want and who you are. that's such a game changer, because then you're able to choose. You're able to choose like a sniper. Most people don't even have a shotgun. A shotgun, if you shoot birds in the air, you shoot a wide pattern of bullets like BBs. So you can kind of shoot close and you're gonna hit it. If you need to shoot a deer at 400 meters, that's like 4 football fields, you need a rifle, you need a scope, you need something that creates a vision to know right where you're going to hit the target. And as we know ourselves, as we heal ourselves, as we integrate, and we can get stuck on this pushing through and forcing everything, we can get stuck on a never-ending dancing in the woods and playing the guitar and hugging guys in our men's group and cacao and ayahuasca and whatever. I'm not downing those things. I've done all those things. I do some of those things yearly. But we can get too lost on these things. And it's really about, who are we as a man, in our balls, in our heart? What do we want? And that comes in a lot of times from just life experience. So if you're someone that's gotten tossed around by life, tossed around by women, divorced, beat up, man, I thought it would have been easier than this. Bro, welcome to the fucking party. As guys, much more than women, I think women can do it as well. We need initiation to grow. That's how the masculine grows. 100 years ago or 500 years ago, we'd have these actual proper initiations. That's not how life is today. We have challenges, things, life events that initiate us deeper into manhood. It's not one, it's many. So what I believe and what I've found, people will stop doing this in time, this forced monogamy, play the field, or just be single. That's the other thing, just be single and smoke weed and drink wine or drink whiskey and watch Netflix or porn, whatever. Both of these have pretty terrible results. Overall, as someone who's done both, the monogamy thing works ultimately better, but most people are doing it way off. Like, to the point where you start opening your mind, you start trying these things, or you've experimented, you realize a lot of the people that you might thought have a great relationship don't. So the key is, what to end up with is like, how can you be a monogamous Playboy? What if you can feel like a Playboy with your girlfriend or wife? I have found with some of my favorite couples that I think everyone can be monogamous and have a great time, or virtually everyone, with the right person. Most people are with someone where it's just not sustainable, or they grew apart, or they're not willing to do the work. But a lot of times, if you look at how they see life, they just don't match in terms of their values. You're never going to be deeply fulfilled if you don't match in terms of your values and vision. If you could have whatever you want, what do you want? That's the small part of it. And when most people answer that question, they say all the shit they don't want and they're afraid of and they don't want to repeat again. Don't do that. That could be another list. Do you qualify to have and attract that type of woman if you want all those things? If you're starting to complain and go, no, it's not fair, America's expensive, or whatever it is, or the government, or the Republicans, Democrats, that's not the point. There's something about men that's uncomfortable as our experience of life, where when a guy really cares about another guy as a brother, to care enough about them to see them where they're gonna be. So to not care about their limitations or their excuses or their bullshit, because they see them as they really are. They see them here versus the excuse of what happened. You can have so much more than you possibly can believe, but the question is, do you have the clarity around it? Do you know who you are? Do you qualify? Because a lot of people write these relationship visions, and that's great. I'm a huge believer in that. A much bigger and better relationship vision to attract from, to create from, is who am I? Or who am I and what's the gap I gotta close to become that guy? And what am I committed and prepared to giving right now? There's a new wave of monogamy coming. Most people will miss it. It's a choice to let it pass you by, or to create something totally different that's virtually never existed on planet Earth. and a few people, more than a few, people are going to go out there and find it and hunt it down and create it. Phil, again, tuning in. See you soon.